G'day, g'day. This is the Heroes Podcast. I'm so happy to be back again. I've got Maricel Rocha today. How are you?
Hi, Andre. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. And I get so excited when I get to meet people on the other side of the planet, which is the case. We have probably 9 hours between us. And I'm so grateful that this can actually happen. And it wasn't the case in my childhood. So before we start, I wanted to make sure that I intro you so people know who I'm going to talk to. And I'm really excited about this topic already. So Maricel Klichuk Rocha, originally from Argentina, is an integrative health coach with a master's in biotechnology from the University of Sao Paulo. And residing in Manhattan Beach, California, her science background includes transplantation research, vaccine development, and cancer research. A yoga instructor and a Reiki practitioner, she is a graduate of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, passionate about epigenetics, which I'm so excited about. Maricel is dedicated to rejuvenating lives, reducing biological age, and expanding health span through personalized coaching in English and Spanish. Well, I want to hear your story. How did it start for you, Maricel? Do you want to tell us about the beginnings? Did you have some struggles?
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course. As you said, I come from Argentina, and I'm a grandchildren of I'm that in that generation of grandparents who came from Ukraine back, during the war in the 1930 something. And to me, I had a privilege infancy when I was growing up, because I was surrounded with this community of Ukrainian people, and I was immersed in that culture. And it was a beautiful family of origin experience that I had as I was growing up. And one of the things that is remarkable from that part of my life was that as I was very young, I remember like being 10 years old, I would place my little hands over my grandma's head whenever she had a headache, for example. And she would say that I would heal her, that I would, cure or somehow resolve the pain. So in my little mind, I thought, I incorporated the fact that I could do that with my hands. And that's what later in my life brought me to experience Reiki and work with energy healing. But in order to get there, let me tell you what happened in between. So that was when I was very little. After that, I went to college. I decided I wanted to study biochemistry and then biotechnology. So I was really immersed into science because I wanted to understand how things work, especially our physiology, the way our body works. And something happened that I want to share this story with you, Andre, that, when we are little, when we are young, things that happen really impact the way we live the rest of our life, right? So one of the other things that really affected me was when I heard that one very close cousin of mine was having pancreatic cancer. Back then, he was only 17 or 18. No, he was, yeah. He was a late teenager. And the thing was, I was already doing research at a university studying liver transplantation. And I was working on one of my thesis about how to treat the cells from the liver to get transplanted. What do we need to do to those cells in order to increase viability? So when the receptor, when the person who received them gets in their system, they have better chance to, be accepted and survive. So I was doing that work. And then I hear that my cousin was sick. And because I was doing that research in that field, they invited me to, come involved and be part of his medical team to care. We came to the United States, to the Mayo Clinic, and I don't want to make it a very long story, but eventually, even all the research, even everything that we tried, he passed away. And that was something that really, really affected me, because intellectually, I couldn't help him. And that itch stayed with me when I decided to do my master's degree. I was like, I need to find a solution. I need to grow, in knowledge. I need to understand how cancer works. So that's why I moved to Brazil and I did my master's degree in biotech, and I learned how to culture cells, and then I did other things like vaccine production. But anyways, bottom line, I tried to keep studying to understand. And that journey took me to Philadelphia, where I was working with this group of Italian scientists, and we were doing gene therapy in the aim to understand cancer. But that was the moment when we were injecting tumors to nude mice, which means, animals that don't have immune systems, so they cannot reject what we put in them. So it sounds awful right now for the animals, but anyways, that's the way we can say if a, intervention works. So back then, I understood that there's no animal model, there's no cell model that will replicate what it actually happens in a human being, right? Why? Because a whole person is not just a physiology. It's not just what happens in their body, in their cells. That is the consequence of what already happened in the spirit, in their emotions, in the trauma, in everything that the body stores and then manifests as a physiology. So all this story to just share with you, Andre, how this truth came to me when I realized that the way we're doing science here is really far to be complete, because we're not addressing emotions when we go to the lab, because we're not addressing the story of the person, the spirituality of the person, the purpose, the desire of living, right? So all of those things that were not contemplated there made me, look for more. It was like science was great because I learned so many things, but it wasn't giving me the answers. It wasn't resolving my fundamental question: what is health?
Yeah, it's powerful. And that really resonates, Maricel, because I did work, and I do normally work with mind and emotions, and I've seen magic happen. But going back to your story a bit, and maybe the challenges that you had before really starting getting results in this field, have you ever come across lack of self-worth or lack of confidence at all that you had to overcome some way?
If I had to work with someone, can you ask me again?
Absolutely. I'm the doctor of self-worth, so I'd love to, if you have any challenges around self-worth or lack of confidence at all, have you had any of those hard times that you had to somehow resolve?
Yes, thank you for clarifying. That was the moment, as I was telling you my story. I was in Philadelphia. I was suffering the cold there, the snow and the weather. And I was doing all this research, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is not the real truth. This is part of the truth, but it's not the whole. And that struggle, made me realize I need to search for more. I need to explore other domains, not just the physical, right? So I explore. After that, I came to LA, to California, and I started working for a company that it's a natural product, supplements and vitamins and things like that. And although my science was kind of not developed there, one very important part of myself was developed there, and that was the coaching part, because I had the chance to work with people after being in a lab for so long and just working with my cells, being transported into the human community workplace was a big deal for me. And I really loved it. I loved it. I had my teams and I had my people and my tribe, and we were all growing together. So I had a great experience. And slowly I was learning that, the solution to my fundamental question and my struggle, in your words, had to do with more than intellectual knowledge. I explored the relationship component, which was amazing. The fact that I could help people, that I could coach them for them to become their better version of themselves, right? So that was a great breakthrough for me. When I started doing that, I became a senior manager in that company. And then, because I was having my third baby, unfortunately or fortunately, I had to quit that job that gave me so much fulfillment and satisfaction. And then I had to stay at home for a few years because I had to take care of my family. And I share with you, I have 3 daughters. Back then, that was my my youngest was born. So I stayed away from working outside the house. And the good thing is that it gave me the chance to do my own research and keep exploring and keep growing in those fields until later. Like they say, every struggle is actually an opportunity. So when we were all dealing with the pandemic and COVID, and we were all inside, I had this great idea to merge. What can I do with that science background, the love of coaching, my passion to understand health and the whole being? And that took me to explore options. And I ended up enrolling into this health coaching program that the Integrative Institute of Nutrition was offering. They're still offering. It's a great program. And I was able to do it online as I was, during COVID. That was 2020. So since then, that's how I overcame the struggle and basically became a health coach.
What a journey, huh? And what are you bringing to each of the clients to make change, to bring a fresh new approach? Because I understand there's only one of you out there with health coaching background plus Reiki, and you're obviously with the cell biology and all of this science. Tell us, what is different when you come in contact with one of your clients? What's happening there?
Yes, the first thing is create awareness, because we live in a blind spot world where we are moved by inertia. We are moved by the media. We're moved by social media. We're moved by things and factors that are outside ourselves. So the first thing that I do, just with a clarity session that is, for free, complimentary, and my goal is to make them become aware of their needs. So I function like a mirror, and I basically highlight whatever area of their lives that needs attention. And as a consequence of that, I give them a roadmap, personalized, applied to that person specifically in that moment, because we change over time, and what you needed 3 months ago might not be the need that you have now. And we all have several needs, but I help them identify the most urgent one. And then we together create a plan that works for them. Because at the end of the day, we all know, oh, we need to sleep better. Oh, we all need to have better nutrition. Oh, we have to, improve our mindset and things like that. We all do know what we need to do. But how many of us actually engage in the process of consistency and keep doing the things that we need to do, right? It's very low. The information is available everywhere. You just go on YouTube, you can find anything. But the implementation, that's the part where I, as a health coach, go to my client and help them first become aware of what they need. And second, create a plan that day by day they will implement until they get the results. So it's basically a concierge. Think about like when you have needs, there will be a person that will tell you, okay, start here and let's track. Let's get the numbers so that you understand what's happening. And it gives you clarity in the information when you actually have numbers and you can compare and you can say, oh, when I started, I was here. Now, after improving all of these areas, then I'm there, and you can compare the numbers. And I'll give you an example. I'm using an epigenetic test with my clients where this test actually measures the DNA methylation in your white cells circulating in your blood. And it's only needed a few drops of blood, like a glucose, test. But it gives you so much information. It gives you many things. But the most important information that you get from it, it's your biological age. You have two ages. You have your chronological age. That's the amounts of years you have been in this planet, this time. But then you have your biological age. And that is something that we may know doing questionnaires. There are ways of knowing. But the actually factual test will estimate your biological age, which is the age that your cells inside your body have. So you may be 40, but your biological age might be 55 or younger. You don't know until you take the test. So that's what I do with my clients. The first measurement that we take once they are aware is the biological age. And then that comes with another parameter that is called the pace of aging, which is the acceleration of aging that you have in this moment. And that number could be, it goes 0 to 1.2, and that reflects the amount of months that you age every year. So that's very important, and that's the one that we really care about, because that is what we can change with interventions in lifestyle. My approach is not about get a sophisticated equipment or get sophisticated trackers or get sophisticated 100 supplements. No. Before we get there, let's eliminate what is harming you, what is negative in your life, because no pill, no shortcut will help you unless I help you to fix first the way you cope with stress, the way you sleep, the frequency, amount, and quality of nutrition, food that you have, fundamental things. So that's what I do with my clients. I take the biological age test, and then through sometimes 3 months or sometimes longer if they want to make sure that the new habits that we build up remain, right? Because it's easy to lose weight. It's hard to keep the healthy weight. This is the same. It's easy to correct the bad habits, but it's really hard to keep the new habits healthy for longer and for life. So what we do with the test is we take another test in 3 months or 6 months and compare with the first baseline. And then people can brag and say, like they would say, oh, I lost 10 pounds. They can say I rejuvenated 5 years, or I corrected, I reverted my pace of aging, and now I age at a pace of 0.9 or 0.8, And that means that I have, I have November and December, 2 or 3 months for free. I'm not aging during those months. So that's the beauty of this epigenetic science, that finally we can know for sure what is the process of aging doing inside ourselves.
That's very powerful. And I was asking myself the question while you were detailing all of what you could do for people knocking at your door or virtual door. You have years of cancer research behind you, is that right?
Yes.
So it's such a, I would say, a sensitive topic these days, where there's this mainstream, I have to say, an agenda about how to heal cancer. With your background, have you seen people coming to you and asking your help to heal cancer as well?
No, I didn't get exposed to healing in that sense. If to make it easy to understand, health coaches can help with the prevention, because I cannot prescribe, I cannot advise, I cannot, get into that domain. My area is the prevention. Now, healing goes for doctors. Healing goes to, special doctors. Inside the pool of doctors, there's oncologists. I'm not replacing those professions. I am creating awareness and helping people prevent diseases. So that's why it's kind of tricky, because my whole life, my interest was to cure cancer. I couldn't do that. So now I'm like in the prevention. And when you say prevention, nobody's interested, because unless you have the pain, you're not going to do anything, right? But by the time you have symptoms, by the time you have a diagnosis, by the time you have pain, it's kind of too late. It's kind of, I wouldn't say too late, but it's really hard. It's really hard to revert. It's much easier to prepare. It's much easier to prevent. And that can be done anytime. And my approach not only help people to prevent cancer, but all the other chronic diseases that result from, bad lifestyle habits.
I hear you. I had some, probably I shared or not, some, although I wasn't aiming to heal cancer, and I certainly cannot claim anything. But what I found, this work, and probably the work that you do, has some amazing results, where I had someone, obviously I worked on other aspects of their life, which has, got straightened out. Let's say they release some negative emotions of pain and struggle and sadness and hurt and frustration. And the cancer that I couldn't help with mysteriously started to disappear, and since then completely gone. Would you care to give us your view about how emotions, and I understand this is a lot to do with epigenetics, how emotions or mind is connected to physical health?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, this is fascinating. And I'm happy, I'm glad that you asked, because that is actually my real passion, is understand how our intentions manifest in our biochemistry, in our cells, in our molecular biology. I mean, inside our DNA and around it. And that's what I discovered with epigenetics, because we used to think, like 20 years ago, I mean, epigenetic is not new, but The new part about it is that we are switching paradigms. Like before, it was like, oh, you know, you have bad genes from your parents, you are sort of condemned for life, right? The new thing is that we thought that it was the sequence on your DNA, the sequence of your genes that will determine your, you know, future in terms of your physiology. Now we know that it's not that. I mean, part of the truth, yes, but it's not the whole story. The main story is how those genes are being expressed or regulated. It's like you have your recipe manual, right? Where you have all the ingredients, all the procedures, descriptions, the recipe instructions. That's your DNA. Now you have to implement that information into your food, meal, whatever you're preparing, right? That's epigenetic. Epigenetic comes and say, all right, let's modify here, let's adjust, let's express, let's turn this gene on or off. So at the end of the day, what results from the whole process is not just, you know, literally what was in your gene expressed. It depends on your epigenetic, which is the landscape around the genes, and that manifests or not into a protein or a gene that is being active or not. And that regulation of the expression of the DNA, what we now know as epigenetic, is actually one of the main steps that resonates and that then gives you the consequence that you see in your body. So coming back to your question, what is my thinking about our mind and our body? The connection that brings me to when I was 18 years old, I started practicing yoga, and I became a teacher because I didn't want to miss during the time of vacation that I wasn't that I didn't have access. So I became a teacher to only, you know, to always have access to yoga. And until now, I teach yoga, and it's a wonderful practice to connect mind and body. What I learned over the past years is that all our cells are like little antennas. Imagine that every single cell that we have is intelligent, and it functions receiving information from your environment, from everything that happens around, and it also emits information. So it's a little device that functions both ways. It receives information and it provides information. And that information that is receiving is affected by the power of your intention. So whenever I feel and I have emotions that are positive, all of my cells are sensing, are receiving that input. And that input is translated into better biochemistry, by better function inside them. But when we have negative emotions, when we have negative mindset, when we have limiting beliefs and we're stuck and we're self-doubt and we engage in negative emotion, or sometimes we don't even have boundaries and we just grab bad energies from others and we don't know, this is unconscious, then all your physiology, your cells are listening and they are behaving, trying to tune into that energy, that frequency of energy, if you want. So when I explain this to my clients, they become aware. They become aware of, okay, I have to create boundaries. I have to have hygiene in the way I think, you know, and they implement a series of steps that help them to stay in the positive side, because they know, oh, will I afford to get triggered and stay for a few days in that negative emotion? No, because now I'm aware of the damage that I'm doing into my body, right? And then I also help them with something called emotional detox, which is a sort of cartography where I help them to scan the whole body And then we discover, emotions that are most of the time from the past that were unresolved. Something happened, you don't have time to deal with that, and you just, put all those things under the carpet. So those emotions are in your body, and I help them to uncover, and I help them to process in a healthy way so they get the freedom they need to keep forward to living longer, their best life. My whole goal is to increase their health span, which means the time alive in optimal health. And health is not just the body, it's the emotion, the mind, and the spirit.
You've put it so beautifully, so eloquently. I didn't want to bring this up, but I want this out in this interview. I did some research myself in this field that you are a master of. And for 20 years, my dad has been, I have to say, poisoning himself. He's been a cancer patient for 20 years and then 3 other lethal diseases. And I was sending him letters because he could not understand it, that he was poisoning himself with never taking responsibility, never taking charge of or asking for help to release anger, fears, and all of his issues around blaming everyone else. And he even blamed the doctors. And eventually I got to say that he has killed himself in his own poison, and he would never learn. And I believe this is a massive limitation even today in traditional ways of healing and helping people, where they do not count this massive part of our being. They're still looking at a piece of flesh or measuring some numbers and hoping, wanting to, according to protocol, wanting to heal. And I'm not too sure about that either, but definitely creates the lack of results that they probably started traditional healing in the first place. Would you
Yes.
comment on this, and then we move on? I'm sorry, I just really wanted this out because it really fits into this interview.
Yes, and I'm glad you asked me, and thanks for sharing me that story. And that prompts me to this concept that is very powerful. And if someone is listening this, if you're there and listening, one takeaway that I want you to have from this conversation is this concept of unconscious suicide. And let me right, let me talk a little bit about it. I believe that it's our responsibility to have the gut to explore our unconscious. It's ours. We came to this planet with that. And be brave enough to open the door. And, with a flashlight, that's me. I'm a health coach helping people to see those things. And one of the things that, we don't want to see is how much damage we do to ourselves in the way we eat, in the way we start binging Netflix at night, in the way we are, dealing with remorse or dealing with revenge or those negative feelings that we have someone who offended me. And now, we are addicted to this negative generation little engines that we have in our unconscious mind that sustain those negative feelings over our life. And at the end, they manage the way we make decisions. So why it's unconscious suicide? It's suicide because you're harming yourself without your knowledge. You're allowing your unconscious to take over your life and make bad decisions.
This is so clear, and thanks for highlighting this, because I do spend plenty of time trying to wake up people as well as you are, yet they don't take responsibility, they don't take care of themselves by having their psyche run by this machine that they don't know themselves, without taking the right approach. I say it's almost like not having the tools to change a tire.
Right.
It's an impossible job when you haven't got the tools. And if that's another takeaway from this interview, then never take a trip without the tools, because you could get stuck on the side of the road, and literally speaking, you will get stuck in your life, in one area of life, or in many areas of life most of the time, because it goes across every area of life, because you have not done the most important work in your life to build a connection to your own mind.
Yeah, and the other thing that I want to mention, Andre, has to do with what's your reward, right? Okay, let's say you convince me I'm going to be more aware, I'm going to focus on be more conscious about not harming myself, blah, blah, blah. Let's say I do that. What's it then? You know, what's at the end? What do I get? Let me tell you what you get. You're going to get into a state, into an energy frequency so high that you're going to connect with other people on the same level of energy. And why that's a good idea? What's there that is appealing? Well, you're going to be happier. You're going to be enjoying every moment that you have better. You're going to be living your purpose, and you're going to attain the best version, your higher self, the best version of you, the person that you can be during this life now. That's ultimate the goal. You don't have to wait until your next life. If you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. You don't have to wait for 10 years. You can manifest, you can be that being right now. All it needs, it's a change in your mindset, the desire to be present, to be that person, and you know, living your life in that energy. So every time you have a decision that, okay, should I eat another cookie? I already have one, for example. You will have that's not like me. You know, you will have that self-worth. You are the doctor. You are the, you know, master in this field. Your being is gonna will manifest in a, no, I already had one. I don't need another one. Right? Because you will be awake and you'll say, okay, what I probably need is maybe a loving touch, maybe someone acknowledging that I did something nice today, you know, more connection. So instead of just going blind into eating more than I should, oh, I'm awake. I'm here. I know my needs, and I'm not going to harm myself. And that's really worth it. And the other thing that we need to remember is that the energy we have is the average energy of each single cell in our system. And that's why by releasing the bad energies, the bad emotions that are trapped, you know, I get my throat. That's the way where I accumulate tension. But other people's are the shoulders or the chest or whatever it is. The more you practice techniques to release that negative emotion that was trapped in your organs, in your muscles, the better energy you will have as an average of all. If there will be a machine that will scan your energy, your aura, right? And that number will say how enlightened you are now. You know, it would be the average of all the energies that you have in your body. So that's why it's so important to get rid of those bad energies and cultivate positive thoughts, work on your joy. You know, it comes kind of weird coming from a scientist person, but it's proven in all the papers, stress is the #1 factor that affects your epigenome and that you can revert fast. You know, it takes like 10 years to revert the damage from smoking. It takes 3 months to revert the stress situation in your, we see those in the epigenetic test. So start there. You know, my message is start learning practices to cope with stress. And start there. That's a great way to start to become aware. And then slowly, day by day, step by step, stop harming yourself.
Thanks for that. And that really ties to self-love in my understanding. And it's not just about us. We have the next generation as well, who is then learning new ways, right, to carry themselves, regulate themselves, and talking to themselves in a more loving and maybe more patient way, which then changes not just the person, but the whole generation. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You know, it's contagious. When you're happy, you make everybody happy around you. When you're depressed, you make everybody depressed around you. So we need to start by giving our kids example of being, you know, frustrated, and then show them how can I get out of that in front of them. You know, I used to have conflicts with my husband, and I would say something like, let's wait until they are asleep to resolve. Now I'm like, no, let's do it in front of them. So they observe, they learn, and then they apply and they do the same. That's what we need to do. Become the version that we want to see in them. And they are very smart. Each generation, you know, supersedes the previous one. And I believe that they will use everything they see when it's their turn to be parents.
Well, thanks for that. So how someone's listening to this interview, how could they reach out to you to engage? Do you want to, obviously all of your details will be under the video, but if you wanted to share the easiest way to find you or get connected to you, how is the easiest way?
I think the easiest way is to go to my webpage. There's a lot of information. And I also share tools that as I go, you know, I see, oh, this is very interesting. This might help people. And I just put together a flyer or a PDF or even an e-guide. I put together an ebook called The 7 Pillars of Youth that I give it for free. And it's basically all the information in a very summary format. It's very brief, but it basically pinpoints what are the 7 fundamental areas of your life that you need to start working in order to have longevity and increase your health span. And that's on my webpage. That is www.maricelrocha.com. So that's the best way to find me. And inside the page, you will find an invitation to have a call with me that you can schedule. And I have this clarity session with clients, and without any commitment, we just explore, you know, what's going on and what are the ways that I can help them with. And I have sometimes people who are just interested in the test. So I give like 3 tiers of the test. Like if it's just the test, and I help them with the interpretation of the results, and that's one kit. And then the other one comes with more coaching from me. And then the ultimate coaching program takes 2 tests at the beginning and the end, and all my coaching for, you know, consistently every week. So it depends on the needs of the person. And I'm working now to launch a group coaching session, because sometimes people learn from others, right? And you have like this community of people who are all interested about tracking. So they're all about tracking the way they sleep, exercise. So they want to belong to this community and compare numbers and this and that. But then from there, they're like, okay, I want to talk about my things on a private way. And that's how we do our one-on-ones after that, or sometimes simultaneously. So there's, options for everybody, for every budget. My goal is to spread out the good news that we have so much power unleashed, right? We have so much power in our minds and in our intention, and how much power, how powerful it is, that it's like you have a computer that is being used as a night table, just to put your books on. So, use that computer, use that beautiful mind that you have, and use that power of decision, of choices in a healthy way.
Well, thanks for that. I really loved this interview, and you've already probably given away the gold nuggets at the end. But I still have to ask that question. Is there anything I haven't asked and I should have? Is there anything extra that you really wanted to share with my audience, with people, that is so crucial to understand and to know as those last words to take away?
I think you did a great job asking me the main steps that it took me to be here. I guess that you have a broad knowledge of who am I, what I do, how do I help people. I guess if there's one more thing that I would like to say is, well, two things. One is the way I approach spirituality, because we cover a lot about emotions and mindset. We also cover about the organic part, the physiology, but I didn't say much about the spirituality. So I wanted to say two things. First, spirituality for me is not getting a religion and following rituals. That's not what spirituality means to me. Spirituality means how close you are in the conversations you have with your higher self. So if you are, let's say you're facing your higher self, what would that higher self of you tell your present you? Are you doing things correctly? Are you doing things right? Are you neglecting something? So that's, to me, the definition of spirituality. How close it's your relationship or connection with your higher self. So that's one part. And part two, the last thing I would like to say is that everything starts in the spirit. So if you are thinking, I'm going to start with my mindset, you're going to reach certain distance. If you think, oh, I'm going to start with my supplements, and you cover the organic part, you're going to reach a few meters from where you are. But if you want to reach the end, if you want to increase your health span and live long, healthier, invest in your spirit. That's what it's going to take you till the end and beyond.
Very powerful. Maricel Rocha, thank you very much for your time. I hope we will have some more conversations about these things, because it really is exciting for me. Thanks very much again, and see you soon.
Thank you, Andre. This was an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much.